Hey everyone, welcome to Steven Universe, the show where we talk about the universe of Steven Universe. I'm your host, Victor Frost. First things first, the news. So you may not have realized this, and frankly, I can't blame you too much about it, but I'm what's called a performer. I like performing about different things, especially things like that I'm really into. Things like sound design and audio engineering and media theory, or just talking about shows or cartoons that I'm happy to be really into at that time. Especially when I think I can give people an insight into them that they may not have necessarily had before. Really, that's one of my favorite things to do ever. And one of the ways I do that is performing at conventions. Now, typically around July, I'm performing at Anime Expo, but not this year. This year, instead of performing at Anime Expo, which is one of the most prominent conventions here on the West Coast, I'm going to be performing at Kineticon, one of the most prominent conventions on the East Coast. Now, I am super excited about this because not only do I get to hang out with a lot of my friends, most of which I only really get to see online, but I get to go back to the home of my heart, New England. I miss New England so much sometimes. But you guys don't care about all that sentimental garbage. What does this have to do with you? Well, I'm going to be performing 3 panels at Kineticon this year. Panels that you could potentially go see if you're going to Kineticon or if you decide to go because I'm going. I'm very conscious of the fact that the former is more likely than the latter. But in any case, I'm not going to give you the times of those panels because, well, we're still a ways away from the convention, so they're potentially subject to change. But here is what I'm going to be performing. First up is Steven Universe, the panel. That's right, folks, we are going live. Me and one of my longtime friends, Vega, are going to be working together to dig down deep into the universe of Steven Universe, pulling on her expertise in the arts and my expertise in media to tease out some of the hidden awesome in one of arguably TV's most awesome cartoons currently on the air. It's gonna be pretty fantastic, I'm not gonna lie. And this is a brand new panel. If you're a fan of my panels, you have never seen this one before. So, can't wait. I'm also bringing with me from California 2 of my best panels. The first one is My Little Pony: Sound is Magic. In this lecture, I walk you, the audience, through the amazing world of sound and sound design to show you how these techniques can be used in the newest incarnation of the My Little Pony franchise to bring to life a wonderful world and cast of characters once the mics are put away and the voice actors go home. The second is Monster Girl Quest: The Lecture. In this 18+ panel, we delve into the history of the anthropomorphization and sexualization of some of mankind's most ancient mythical creatures. We examine their mythos and origins and see how they're reflected in one of Japan's most iconic erotic games, as well as in the diverse and interesting cultural history of humanity. Keep your hands where I can see them. This is Monster Girl Quest: The Lecture. And that's what I'll be doing at Kineticon 2015. If you stop to see any of my panels, please come say hi to me afterwards. I'd love to meet you. But enough of that, let's see what you guys have been up to. It's time for a review. Home and Other Stories by Tat Tat is a collection of short stories. Most are in third person, all of them are about characters who have been in the show, and they're all generally on the short side. Beyond that, they vary a bit too much for me to adequately describe as a whole work. Now, that being said, do not take it as a condemnation. If a normal fanfic was a comedy movie, this would be a joke book. Taking a whole bunch of different ideas and writing them out to the length that feels right for that idea. Any longer would be too long, any shorter would be too short. As a result, you get a whole bunch of short little vignettes that are really easy to read through and gives you lots of good points to stop if you should feel like it. So, what's the verdict? I'm gonna give it 4 out of 5 Stevens. Now, overall, it was pretty good. There were some technical issues here and there, but my big gripe was that some of the stories, in my opinion, just were too short to justify being included as entire chapters on their own. It's just a personal metric, nothing serious to break the story. But as a whole, I do recommend that you guys check this out. It's pretty good. Now it's time for us to look at the episode Gem Glow and see what we learned. If you haven't yet seen the episode Gem Glow, then what are you doing watching this show? I mean, this is an analysis show for a series that's already in its 2nd season. I mean, hey, do what you want. I'm not going to tell you how to live your life, but it's kind of putting the cart before the horse, wouldn't you say? Well, at any rate, spoilers ahead. Old episode, old lore. Let's see what we learned. So the fact that we're looking at this episode after coming so far into the series gives us the ability to look at the pilot with, frankly, a remarkable level of hindsight. But before I go on about that, I think I need to stop the horde of people who are about to post in the comments. Yes, I am aware there is an episode called Pilot, but that was not the pilot of the series. It's what's called a demo. The demo became popular in the 90s, and it was a way for writers and crew to show what they could do with the concept of the show without going through a show-sized budget. They often used designs and such from other shows, such as sets or props, as a way of saving money, or the designs were not in their finalized form. Think of it as a prototype of the show that they're pitching. Gem Glow is the actual pilot of the show, with a production code of 001. It was the first episode to air, conforms to finalized designs and show specs, and uses a plot that is within the canon of the show. Gem Glow is the pilot of Steven Universe. So, with all that said, what did we learn? Well, as a seasoned fan, not much if anything, but from the perspective of someone new to the show, quite a bit, actually. We learned that the show takes place on a city by the beach, not unlike many of our own. We learned that magic exists in this universe and that Steven has magic, even though he doesn't quite know how to use it or even how it works. And we learned the names of Steven and Lars, but not Sadie. All of this takes place in the first 60 seconds of the post-opener show. Add in the opener and you learn who the crystal gems are, what their names are, and the general premise of the show. Well, ostensibly the premise of the show. Over the course of the rest of the episode, we're introduced to the locale, learn the basics of monster mechanics, and we get a taste of the characters' personalities. Pearl's intelligent yet caring nature, Amethyst's au naturel wild style, and Garnet's Garnetness. Her stoic personality and general nature do not lend well to a very deep immediate characterization. I only talked about the surface stuff because really, there's not much else. This episode doesn't get too deep, and nor should it have. It's the pilot. It is there to introduce the setting, the characters, and the general premise, and to act as a safe landing pad for new viewers. All those little tidbits that we notice later on, us seasoned viewers, things like Connie's bracelet or the centipedal, those are all there for people who decided to continue along the journey of the show. Things that they can see and look at and think, oh, wait a minute, that was in the pilot. Neat. And that's what we learned this time on Steven Universe Universe. Join us next week as we talk a little about the use of sound in the show. I'm Victor Frost, and I'll see you next time.